Good day. We are working through a devotion series from Luke chapter 6. And so no matter what's going on in the world, we are inviting you to listen to what God might do and transform from within you, and how God is calling all of us across every nation and every tribe to break down the barriers that divide us and to live up and into the image that God has for us. So I just want to invite you to spend a few moments preparing your heart, your eyes, your ears for what God might say to you today.
It is well with my soul. It is well with my soul. It is well. It is well with my soul.
Our devotion reading today is from Luke chapter 6, verse 32. And I'm going to read you some of the context of Jesus saying these words so you can be invited into this story. And so Jesus came down and stood with them on a level place, with a great crowd of his disciples and a great multitude of people from all Judea, Jerusalem, and the coast of Tyre and Sidon. And Jesus looked up at his disciples and said, "If you love those who love you, what credit is that to you? For even sinners love those who love them." The word of the Lord. This text, which is a short text, but like many of the short texts of Jesus' words that we have, it's powerfully packed and one worth sitting and dwelling on and letting God's Spirit cultivate in your life fully. So I want to invite you to think about love today from this verse. And it has an assumption in it. You know, it says, if you love those who love you, what credit is that to you? Even sinners do that. And so I want us to first think about and acknowledge today that there are times where we even fail to meet that lower standard, that low bar that the text gives us, that, well, of course you love those who love you, even sinners do that. But I want to invite you to think about who are the people in your life who love you that you have failed to love well. And if you need to spend some time maybe in 1 Corinthians 13, where Paul talks about all these things that are aspects of love, of patience and endurance and all of these things about love. Who loves you that you've struggled to love them back? And I think we shouldn't kind of jump to the end of this verse without thinking about that, even that low level expectation of do we even love those who love us that we take for granted? And so spend some time in prayer. Ask God to reveal and to reveal in you where you have failed to love even those who do love you. And if we move on from that, another layer of prayer time and spiritual guidance that you can invite God to speak to you about today is about who is it that you do need to love that does not love you, and that you might struggle to love. And so it would be a useful use of your spiritual time today to just think about, who could I write down on a list? They don't love me. And maybe you're wrong on that. Maybe they do. But who in your spirit do you not feel like is on your side, who you feel doesn't love you? And think about whose names are on that list for you of those who don't love you. Maybe it's a category, and this is the day after the election, but we're in this kind of divisive season of maybe you put a different party than yourself in that list of people who don't love you. I don't know who that is for you, but who do you struggle with seeing as loving you? And how can you invite yourself to let God's Spirit transform your vision for that person or for that group of people so that you might love even those who don't love you? Because that is not easy. That is the Spirit's work in your life and in the world. And so who do you need to love who does not love you? So that's your second opportunity for spiritual reflection today. Who loves you that you need to discern and cultivate a greater love for them? And who doesn't love you? And who do you need to, on that front, love, even though they don't love you back? So I want to invite you into a third part of this verse, which says, if you love those who love you, what credit is that to you? And that word for credit is that word that we often use as grace. Maybe you might think about it as God's favor. So like, what about God's favor is that doing for you that you love people who it's easy to love? Even sinners do that. You know, if you're looking for God's favor and grace and reward, it's going to call you out beyond kind of that easy lower levels of love and into something greater and beyond. And I want to invite you to think about, I'm sure that you know what it's like to strive to get someone to love you. And this text does not ask you to get people to love you back. It is not, here's how you get to receive love, but it is about how you give love out. How do you, whether you are even attempting to love other people. And it's not about what you can receive. And so there are those people in your life who I'm sure you've tried to get their love and it just has failed. And so this text invites you to have a different goal and hope in this process of love. That if you love those who don't love you, if you have this extravagant love that goes beyond the everyday, you might just find God's favor and reward and grace is lived and experienced more fully in your life. And that's not that the person that you loved has suddenly reciprocated that love back to you. But what is it to hope and trust that God will bless your desire, your love for other people, even when others fail you. And so if you've been trying to get someone to love you back and you have been failing at that, you can't control that other person's love, but you can control your love. And so if you can invite yourself into prayer about how you can better love those in your life, those who love you, those who don't love you, and keep your eyes and your mindset towards God, who has great favor and grace and reward for you for living his calling for your life out well. And so I want you to hear the words one more time from Luke chapter 6. That Jesus came down with them and stood on a level place with a great crowd of his disciples and a great multitude of people from all Judea, Jerusalem, and the coast of Tyre and Sidon. And Jesus looked up at his disciples and said, "If you love those who love you, what credit is that to you? For even sinners love those who love them." May today be a day of love in your life, in which you learn how to love with more extravagance and abundance. And may you feel God's favor and grace in your life on that path of love.
It is well with my soul. It is well with my soul. It is well. It is well.